Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to the Super Eagles Watch podcast powered by HotSports, the official media partners of the NFF, but also of our darling Super Eagles of Nigeria. The name is Victor Godfrey. I do have with me a special guest. But before I do the introductions, I'd love to remind you that we are active on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, and most importantly, YouTube. Subscribe, put on that notification notice on your phone or your laptop so you know when we drop our videos. Now listen, a little push of a button for you goes a long way for us to showcase that you truly love the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Now I have with me somebody that if he's by your side, you can go and look for trouble. You know, you can say, what's going on here? Slap somebody or whatever. Don't do that. But we do have with us a man who is football royalty when it comes to Nigerian football administration. He is the former first vice president of the NFF and also the former chairman of the Lagos Football Association. Ladies and gentlemen, I do have with me Mr. or I should say, Barrister Seyi Akinwunmi. Sir, it's good to have you here on our show.
It's really my pleasure.
All right, so as I was saying, I could just kind of slap somebody randomly and like, don't worry, I have a lawyer, he's gonna take care of it for me, right?
I don't do criminal law.
Okay, sir, so it's good to have you here. And let's just start off with, the mood around the fan base around, global football, most especially in England. I'll go with two cases. We have, of course, recently the Nigerian contingent at Bayer Leverkusen going on, undefeated, the Invincibles of Germany winning the title under, Xavi Alonso. That's talking about Boniface, who scored in the final game, and also Teller, Nathan Teller, the Nigerian international, both of them. And then we can touch on the Premier League. Godna's out there. I'm so sorry, guys. I just had to do that. Sorry. But congratulations to Man City. But your thoughts on, the Bayer Leverkusen side that has done such a fantastic job. As a matter of fact, they have a bigger fan base now than they did last season.
Yeah, that's understandable. Success has many friends and many fathers.
That's what they say.
But the truth is that, for those also who are a bit older, you remember Xavi Alonso when he played.
Yes.
And, there's some sort of kind of reflection of who he was and the aura he had as a player, not as a coach as well. So it's very interesting that happens. I remember the same thing with Pep. But I'm extremely excited about the fact that we have Nigerians in that team. For us, that's the main thing. I'm not a German, so and I'm not really a German football fan.
Oh.
But I'm a fan of Nigerian players, Nigerian football, and I'm glad that we have two extremely talented players actually in that squad, and congratulations to them.
Okay, also with the Premier League, obviously this banter belongs more to the fan base because we have a massive contingent of Nigerian Premier League fans, football fans, most especially the Gunners. Arsenal has a very massive contingent in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And unfortunately yesterday, it wasn't the best of times for them. But they can take solace in the fact that they pushed City to the absolute limit, only 2 points behind, and they really actually have improved based on their run last season. So
yeah, the truth is that, the problem with Arsenal is not the Arsenal team. It's the Arsenal fans.
I know. We want to root for them, but it just makes it so hard to support them.
Yes.
Arsenal fans.
I think they've played very, very well. I mean, the two best teams in the Premier League this season have been Man City and Arsenal. But I must say, the fact that he came second this season doesn't guarantee anything. They've come second to Leicester, remember? Went back to fifth, went back to eighth before they came back up. So, and all the other teams, it's a new season next season. So, but you must give kudos to them, whatever team you support. They played extremely well this season.
Yes, they did. All right, let's now talk about the big one this midweek, which is the final of the Europa League, which sees Atalanta, that has a Nigerian, Ademola Lookman, and also Bayer Leverkusen going for potentially a treble. They'll have the DFB Pokal weekend final, but for now they're taking on Atalanta for the double, so to speak. Now, your thoughts on this? Who would you be? I know you're not a fan of German football, like you mentioned. Maybe you're a fan of Italian football. I do not know, but who would you pick for this one? Because there are two Nigerians there, and it would be. I mean, if one person wins, we'll celebrate, but half of us will be like, "Oh, Lookman lost," or "Oh, Victor Boniface lost and Taylor lost." So how are you going to be supporting them?
Well, I think that the better team win.
Okay.
For me, it's not that Lookman lost or Boniface lost. It's that Lookman won or Boniface won.
But that to happen, the other has to lose.
So the glass is half full and not half empty.
Okay, that's something to look forward to. Now, final note on the football stuff from the fandom point of view. You are a Man U fan. You've said that, and you have a big game FA Cup final against Man City, and what many people believe to be the defining factor in Ten Hag's season. If he can pull off the impossible beating City, who are a team on a roll, then perhaps he might be the right man to lead United to the future. But what are your thoughts on the final for United, and of course the implications of the results, either positive and or negative?
Well, I think that first of all, miracles do happen,
Oh, wow.
and it's happened so many times in football. So I'm hoping that against all odds, Manchester United can win that final, and it's very possible. As far as Ten Hag and all of that is concerned, I think as a Manchester United fan, I think we've had a very terrible season.
Yeah, the worst Premier League finish in the history of the
Yes,
club.
but also the worst in terms of off-field
Issues,
scenarios. Yes.
yeah.
So I think that the season's gone. Thank God.
The pain is over.
Yes, but I think that the tenure of Ten Hag should not be premised on whether he wins or loses the FA Cup final, because that just doesn't tell me that people are thinking deep or that the owners are thinking deep. I think more important for me is what's the plan. If there's a good plan, Ten Hag is a good coach. No matter what has happened now. Last season told us something, and his previous records told us something. If he wasn't at Man U today and we had this problem, he'd be one of the on the short list to employ. So, as far as what kind of coach is he a good coach or not, it's clear he's a good coach. The issue is what are the plans in the future, and I don't think he should rest on one match.
Okay, well said. Now let's get back to Nigerian football. Yes, I know you're wondering. This is not a banter show. It's about the Super Eagles, right? Now you've been part of football administration in the past. How would you describe your tenure as being part of the NFF, executive committee and or board?
I think very educative is probably the best word for me. I learned a lot about Nigeria as a whole, about Nigerian people, about Nigerian football fans and administrators. So I learned a lot about governance and all of that. So in that time, I've gone through a whole hog. I started with the LMC, the League Management Committee. I had the Lagos State Football Association.
Yes, you did.
I had 2 tenures as the first vice president. I also had a stint as chairman of the Nigerian National League. So probably one person who's gone through the entire
gamut.
Yes, of all of this. So I found it exciting, very interesting, quite time-consuming, quite expensive, but all in all, very enjoyable.
Okay, that's fair. So it was an enjoyable experience being a part of Nigerian football at that level.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something that was really of great sadness for many Nigerians, especially myself. I remember losing a big, massive, potential lucrative deal when this incident happened. Since we qualified for the World Cup in '94 for the first time, we haven't missed out only to 2006. That was another shocker. But again, it happened. History repeated itself in 2022.
Yeah.
We missed out at the World Cup in Qatar. What were the memories of that particular moment for you when that happened? When we missed out that 1-1 draw against Ghana in Abuja, and you just think to yourself, "Wow, we're not going to be at the World Cup in Qatar."
Because it was extremely painful. As a Nigerian football fan, and as a member of the executive. But personally, when all of this issue of going to Qatar started, I was actually invited to Qatar to see what the plans were for I think it was in 2018 or 19, I can't remember. Anyway, and the stadium and where they planned. So I had a vision of what's going to happen, and I was so excited and looking forward to it. And then I went there again just a year before the World Cup with the NFF, and you could really see that there was a buzz. And I saw the power of football. And the power of football was that it changed the mindset of a lot of people in Qatar. Before any foreigner was, just a foreigner. But they started to embrace people, yes. And I was very excited about that. And looking forward to the World Cup. And then yes, it did happen. I thought all of that we lost that opportunity actually in Ghana because we should have beaten them there.
We should have, yeah. A few chances that were missed by
Yes,
Moses Simon,
yes,
especially.
yes. And when we came in here, I thought, we'll do it. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. And again, like I said, miracles. It was a miracle for against us at that time, and it was very upsetting. And I could understand why Nigerians were
So we were upset. I
very
was
upset.
one of them.
Yes, and so was I actually. Because I mean, if I could go on the pitch and score a goal, I would have done it myself. But
Yes.
but I think that to be fair, the NFF gave the Super Eagles as much support as they needed to get to that World Cup.
But it just couldn't happen.
Yeah.
And not to even bring up the bad memory, I don't even know why I decided to wear the jersey that we actually wore on the day we lost to Ghana in Abuja. Okay, well, let's talk about, now it's really interesting because people might have a different view on comparisons, like, do you have to compare two people or different eras or something like that? But I'd love to compare your time at, as part of the NFF with under, Amaju Pinnick or the current set, which is Mr. Ibrahim Gusau. But the thing is this, because I would love to put this out there, I would say people have this view that the Super Eagles or NFF under Amaju Pinnick was more, commercially viable because that was the era whereby the Nigerian football jersey became a global fashion trend, which we've never had before. We've had great jerseys in the past, but it wasn't something that was sold out in 2 seconds or where Nike was putting out a big, massive marketing campaign for us. You just see one day, it just has come out like, okay, no pomp, no pageantry. But during that era, we had that more commercial value. So my question now to you is that in comparisons, which would you say, how would you compare how things were at your time and how things are now across the board from grassroots development, the league, the Super Eagles, the commercial value of the team and all that whole stuff?
Well, first of all, don't forget that Ibrahim Gusau was chairman of chairman under our team as well. So he was part of that team. But I think it'd be extremely unfair to start
comparing the two.
Yeah, and judging the current board. First of all, we had 2 terms. We had different circumstances. People only see what happens in the forefront. In the background, there's a lot that goes on, good and bad. We have different governments. There's a great impact on who the government is and its perspective. Different ministers depend on their perspective and their agenda. So there's a lot going on behind the scene that people don't see. In our time, I think that we were very resilient. We're very resilient. We took in a lot of, attacks from places that we didn't need to, and for no reason. And I think, to a large extent, still came out on top. I think if we were not very resilient and educated, there'll be a lot more that would have happened to us. Very adverse. I'm sure you know a lot of those things that happened.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I believe that we have history. Always judges. A lot of things that we have done that are still sustainable today. Now, with the issue of grassroots football, my view has always been the same, even as a member of the board. Grassroots football is not for the NFF. It's not.
It's not for the Federation?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It is supposed to happen at the lower levels, at the state levels, the divisional footballers. That's where grassroots is. Trying to do everything from grassroots to Super Eagles cannot work and has never worked. I used to be chairman of the Youth Development Committee when I was at the NFF. And I said then that, we can't do all of this. We can oversee just because of our structure, but it's not for us. And therefore, we had this Future Super Eagles programs where we, had people in the States, the FAs, play under 13 and under 15, and then they graduated to the divisions, and then they had the grand finale. Well, that's how we should be. I think we need to empower the state FAs much more than we have done. When I was in Lagos FA, it was my focus, and the results are there, and we can see the players.
The Lagos FA Cup was actually very exciting during that era.
Yes. So we can see that that's where grassroots football is. And the FA, the NFF, should focus on, the higher part of the game, the commercial part of the game, the growth, the, I guess, regulation and all of that. But it's easier said than done. There's some FAs that do that, there's some that don't. So I guess we need to, as time goes on, sort of try and
Find a balance.
find the balance there. So.
Okay, so basically, everybody has their own way of doing things in terms of the different eras of the Nigerian Football Federation. Okay, let's talk about what is current now. After so many months of speculations, we finally had the announcement that Finidi George will be the new manager of the Super Eagles going forward. Now, the question to you is, as someone who has been in that world where you are making these decisions as to choose who is the best man for the job, what is your thoughts on having an indigenous coach as a Super Eagles coach right now in this day and age? Is it a good move, or would you prefer we have a foreign manager?
I think it's a good move, and I think that sometimes you bite the bullet, and the real issue is, what is the Super Eagles coach? What is the job? It's really to manage the players, to ensure that they play to a system, to a plan, and to help them to win matches. Now, the coach has to be comfortable for him to do that. He has to understand football. He has to understand international football. I think he needs to have friends in different places that can help iron out some issues. I'm talking of international football sphere. He has to be a respected coach. And I think Finidi has all of this. He has to be respected by the players for his achievements. I think the Finidi has that. And another important thing is the finances. If, from what I see, if we're going to go for a foreign coach, we would have to go for a high-level coach. And really, can we afford it? The foreign exchange market today is crazy. So we need to balance football with the economics of it. And I think that's what they've done. And I think they've had a good choice. And there are maybe one or two others who could have also been in that position. I'll say the same thing. I also hear that Amokachi is
part of the backroom stuff.
Yeah. I've worked with Amokachi before. I've worked with Finidi before. And they're both cerebral. So I don't have an issue with the appointment. I just hope that the players can reciprocate this clamor that people have had for indigenous coach by playing well and doing well, so that more Nigerian coaches
would have a chance. Well, there's something I've noticed, especially in Europe on top-level national team football. You notice the national team manager at football matches visiting the players, like especially Gareth Southgate does that with England, Nagelsmann does that with Germany, Deschamps does that with France. Even when we had Pesero as our national team coach, you notice him in certain locations, even in Nigeria, visiting to watch games. And again, the question that you mentioned about finances, who is going to foot the bill of Finidi maybe traveling to the Europa League final to watch both his boys playing? Because if that was an English manager, you see him there watching Man United or Chelsea playing, yes, XYZ final. So shouldn't we have that culture whereby you can feel that connection, even so once they come to the national team, they are ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, the coaches do go, and I'm sure he will go around and watch. I want to talk about finance. That's more finance. Finidi can afford it to go and watch that match. But there's a lot more expense. You know how much one Super Eagles match costs. It's crazy. So the finance I'm talking about, much more than just kind of going to Bayern Leverkusen and see Boniface. Yes, but I'm sure that would happen. The other people who, apart from the coach, do all of that and watch their matches and send. Technology now is crazy, so there's a lot that can be done with technology. It doesn't have to be there physically all the time, but yeah, sometimes it's good face to face to speak with somebody and get what their sense is, and not necessarily at the camp. So I'm sure all of that happens. And all of this happen anyway. Sometimes the press just make it as if, there's some set of dollars sitting down there. They don't know, and they're the ones who are clever. But a lot of things happen that, you probably don't hear on the pages of the press.
That's fair. Let's talk about the chances now of the Super Eagles making it to the World Cup in Mexico, USA, and Canada. next 2 years from now, in 2026. We missed out in Qatar. It was a painful experience for everybody involved. And what are our chances? Do you fancy our chances against Benin Republic, South Africa, Rwanda, and these teams that you would expect us to win, but for some weird reason we are not even top of the group yet?
Yes, I do fancy our chances, and I've always fancied our chances against any African team.
Really?
Yes. I think we have the potential, but in football you need many things. You need the luck, you need the preparation, you need the players to be fit, and you need calls to not go against you on that day. So you want the referee to be on point on the day. You need the support. So if all of these things play and it's a level playing field for everybody in terms of the good luck, everybody has good luck, everybody has support, I think Nigerian Super Eagles can take on any African team. And I suspect that that's the way they will be taking on the boys' mindset, but no complacency. Because part of the problem we've had sometimes has been when we're playing so-called lower teams. You tend to get complacent, and all you need to do is appear on the field and you've won that match. They can't afford to do that. But I think that we have a very good chance of overcoming those teams. Especially, I think maybe the most difficult of those was probably South Africa, I suspect. Just because they raise their game when they play Nigeria.
Yes, they do.
Yes, so, but I think if we're prepared, we should overcome.
Now, again, can we afford to miss out of the next World Cup?
I don't even want to discuss that. I don't even contemplate it. I know some friends who've gone to queue for visa. So that they will have 10 years visa and they'll cover them for 6.
Wow, that's how big it is. I don't even want to imagine the embassies for visas to Canada. I mean, it's even much as it is right now. Imagine we qualify for the World Cup. There will be tons of people trying to get tickets to fly to Canada to watch the Super Eagles if we're going to be there anyway. Okay, so let's talk about football administration now and your perception of it. You've been in the business. You've also, to an extent, you're kind of like outside now watching, from the outside. But how do you see football administration? What are the ins and outs, and what are the things that make it what it is? Because you're not just a fan. You are the person making things work. You're literally in like an engine room. You're the engineer, fixing the engine. So how does that work?
When at the last elections, I wanted to be the president, so I ran for the post of president of NFF, and I had a position and I had an ideology called Football First, and everything I think about administration of football is contained in that ideology. Basically, one of them I've spoken about. The NFF has no business at grassroots level. Not no business, but not running. So we need to empower the state FAs and ensure that they do what we expect of them. So sometimes it might be carrot and stick. You give them money and expect this to happen and all that. That I think is fundamental to football association in my view, so they can focus on the work you're really meant to do. Second is to understand that the league is the lifeblood of football in Nigeria. So we need to do all we can to ensure that the leagues are not only are funded, not by the NFF, but give them the power to go out and get funds and empower them in the face of the private sector. Give support where you can financially to some parts of the administration, which I think is crucial to the efficiency of the leagues. And once the leagues are working, we have a greater chance of being successful as a footballing nation. Then the interface between the Football Federation and government is key. We need to do a lot more in that regard, and it's not just the Minister of Sports. We need to engage the government as a whole. We need to engage the legislature as a whole. We need to even engage with the football administrators and educate. I think that's key. We need to educate so many people who are unfortunately running football in various spheres. They don't understand what the laws of football are. And I'm not talking of when there's offside. I'm talking of the laws surrounding football, yes, and the administration of it. So we need to do a lot more in that regard. And I think if we can do that and add to what is currently being done, then the NFF has a greater chance of being even more successful. That's not to say in any way that what is going on now over the years is not correct. I mean, we're respected at FIFA, at CAF, because Nigeria has done pretty much a lot of what they expect. So when you compare us to a lot of the African nations, we're far, far ahead.
Yes.
But there's lots more that can be done.
Okay, well, that kind of covers the question I was going to ask, but let me just ask you this one anyway. Now that like I said, maybe just taking a backseat for the moment, what are your other personal projects in terms of development of football, or what are your plans to help Nigerian football in your own best possible way?
Well, I think the best thing that I can do in terms of helping Nigerian football administration is what I've been doing since I left. Giving my support to the current team. Doesn't always be public, but support it must do. So I speak with the president. I speak with general secretary. I speak with the board members. Give my support when I can. Give my advice when I can. And look out for Nigeria, the success of Nigerian football, rather than the success of any particular person or any particular team. So I've done that privately. I think a lot of people know that I have a foundation. I have two foundations, but one is specific to football, and be supporting some programs. I also have a batch of jerseys at the moment. I think about 1,000 or more that over the next few months I expect to sort of go and give out to young children. We're still supporting the education of young children because I believe that the more educated you are, the better your chance of succeeding as a professional footballer, especially this day and age where we have AI, where we have, the computer age, and now the advanced computer age. So we're still supporting children in school. I'm hoping that the next few weeks I'm going to go and visit the Lagos State Football Association and just to give them encouragement. It's something I plan to do for them.
A good little visit. Yeah. All right, that's well done. Barrister, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. It's been enlightening. You've said with so much confidence that we can slap anybody and you'll cover our case, right? I wasn't too sure you said that.
No, I said I don't do criminal law.
Oh my God, that's what he said. However, he's so confident that we're going to qualify for the World Cup, which we all have that confidence. Now remember, you can be a part of this conversation on social media. We spoke about so many things on today's episode. Let's know your thoughts in terms of what stood out to you. Now remember that you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We need you to do that because one click for you goes a long way to show us that you love and support our darling Super Eagles of Nigeria. My name is Victor Godfrey. I say this all the time. Be good and be safe. Keep it going as a sports fan. It is bye from us and bye for now.